What up, SuperViewers? Just a really quick heads up. It took a long time to edit this. It took like a week. I added footage from the trailers to up the game to make it better experience for you, and then every single time I uploaded it, it got blocked. I tried changing the color of the trailer and it got blocked. I tried reversing the image of the trailer and it got blocked. So now it's just a normal kind of review and wasted all the time, but I hope you appreciate it anyway. Thank you for understanding. Oh, I wish I could show you. It's good. Cake is a Pakistani drama comedy film directed by Asim Abbasi. What's up, SuperViewers? I'm Brian Ellis Clark, and this is SuperViewer. I watch and review movies. Yesterday, I had the immense pleasure of seeing a movie named Cake. I was wanting to see a film yesterday, and there were 3 or 4 Indian and Pakistani movies that were available, and this just was the one that I could fit into my plans, and oh my gosh, did I hit the jackpot. This is such a great film. I'm getting ahead of myself. Can you feel my excitement? How do I describe this? This is a film from Pakistan. It's the first one I've ever seen. Most of the films that I've seen from, say, India are very popcorn movies, very action. There's action somewhere. There's intrigue somewhere. There are genre affairs. This, a piece of dust. It's hard. I'm having trouble describing it. This is a movie that is about a fractured family coming together, and it so deftly combines different elements, but has this singular indie darling type of thing, which usually has very limited releases here, does not make a lot of noise. It only gets a moderate amount of box office if it gets awards praise or by word of mouth. So the fact that this is internationally releasing, I'm so glad. This movie deserves it. Let's get into it. I'm trying to make this review a little more structured, so let's first start with character. The characters in rapid fire are Zareen, Zara, Zain, Abba, Amma, Romeo, Sharar, and looking up things in preparation for this review, saw that the character Adnan is in some webisodes, so I'm going to definitely be looking at it right after filming this. It's an understatement for me to say that I think that the character work and the characters in this film are fantastic. They're beautifully drawn. No one feels like they're acting. They all feel like real, full characters with oxygen in them. They're breathing. They have life after this movie. They've had life before this movie. And even in such a simple scene as, like, it's technically the second or third scene, but it's like the first real scene with characters interacting. It's Zareen, Abba, and Amma, all just how they talk and their bicker and how they talk over each other feels so real. That permeates throughout the entire film, and I could not be more appreciative of how easily all the characters meld together, and that definitely comes to a head in a moment in the second or third act, which is a single take. We'll get there, don't worry. And it's not just how the characters interact with each other when they speak, it's how they interact with each other when they don't speak. There was a moment halfway through the film where Zareen just kind of inches up to Romeo and isn't saying anything, but she kind of wants to just touch him, and then someone interrupts, and the moment didn't have any words. It was so beautiful. Actually, another film that I'm thinking of now is Dan in Real Life, another indie darling. I was the only one in the theater, but I hope this movie makes all the money. I'm gonna keep the indie darling stuff for the atmosphere section, because that's one of the sections I split up. And next is cinematography. Cinematography is beautiful. It's so good. I forget what movie I saw a trailer for. It was supposed to be a trailer, but it was just a small clip on iTunes for a movie that was $9.99, and it had an actor from True Blood. I was like, oh, what's this? And then immediately, you could tell by the cinematography, I was like, oh, this is cheap and not good cheap. This is bad. This is bad filmmaking. To a level that I have definitely been guilty of when I film stuff, and it's just like, ooh, this is not gonna look good. And this film does everything opposite. Every single frame, every single moment, everything is on a tripod. It is set still, and if it's not, it's on a dolly for a very specific reason, and if it's not, it's being handheld between characters' faces. But the thing is, those dolly shots and those moments where it's being panned between characters' faces are reserved for such specific moments that really lend itself to the dramatic weight of the scene, and it's very deliberate. It makes me want to focus more on that in my future filmmaking, and damn if that isn't a good sign for this movie, because I watched a lot of movies. I watched Avengers Infinity War 5 times so far, and I loved it, but it didn't make me in the theater go, I want to be a better filmmaker. I was like watching the movie, enjoying it. This one I was watching the movie, enjoying it, and then also being like, shit, I gotta be a better filmmaker. Fudge. I didn't become advertiser unfriendly just now. Let's get into that atmosphere. The other thing I was going to say, besides indie darling like Dan in Real Life or Little Miss Sunshine, is that at times it felt like a play. It very much felt like a play. Like when Zareen first sees Sherar and she goes to walk away, he says, there she goes again, and then they have that moment where they seem like they're going to kiss on New Year's Eve. But these scenes, especially in that single take that I'm about to go into, just feel very real, and they definitely could be in a play. It could be a little faster than a play normally is, but I don't think so. I think it would work very well as a play, this movie. Because there's not a lot of moments that are just individual little microcosms. Like Zara, when she first gets the text that Ma is in the hospital, then she has her little moment, and that is very filmic. That is a very film type of scene, because nothing else happens. She has her moment, and then you see her on the plane. But everything else feels very much... If you told me this was adapted from a play, I would not be surprised. And actually, I would love to see a play version of this. If someone made this into a play, I think it would be very good. And right before we move on to the atmosphere, when I was looking it up on IMDb, I was seeing some of the posters, some of the character posters, like they were artistically done. And it was so cool. Like every character didn't have their eyes. Zara's had a ring upside down because clearly she was getting divorced from Anand. And Abba's had her Instagram filter or whatever. I love that Abba was like obsessed with Instagram. Like, tell your friends to give me more likes. No, it doesn't matter if you give me likes. Tell them to give me likes. I'm doing so many good photos. It's your face. What? What's wrong with my face? You look sick or whatever, angry. He's great. Back to character stuff. Great little character things. I loved it. Even moments like when Abba told Amma, you know you're my prisoner, right? So good. Anyway, even when it permeated the marketing, that was a great idea. Now, for story, let's get into this. So there's this family that's been just splayed everywhere. Like Zayn is in another country with his wife and child. Zara's in London with her ex-husband, which they don't know about, or they're becoming ex-husband and ex-wife. And then Amma gets sick, so it brings back the family, very Royal Tenenbaum style, except this is a real sequence. I believe that film it's fake, just to bring everybody back. And then because they're both old, then Abba gets sick. But they're coming back together. There's a secret being held. Like even Abba and Amma were saying like what we did was wrong. We thought we were right, but we were wrong. And it's just kind of slowly building while everything is going very good for the story. Every scene feels quality. It feels like you want to be watching. It feels like it should be here. But then there's just a small thing in the back that's just building and building. And every time Zara's like, oh man, thank God the kid didn't die. It was, geez, it was so scary. And then when she runs into Shayar and there's that lingering tension, and then he doesn't know about the accident, but it keeps going, and you have these really human moments with everyone. Amma, for one, when he is celebrating their anniversary, when Abba is unconscious and she's close to death, and he's just kind of spiraling, and he needs to sing, and then he's crying in front of everybody, and one of his older friends says, crying in front of everyone like a baby, that disrespectful. He takes cake and starts throwing it out, and they all are throwing cake at each other, and it's just feels real, like a slightly more optimistic version of life, where there can be more forgiveness or more hope. It feels like the bad of life, but with just an extra bit of good, or an extra bit of resilience to bounce back, because people don't bounce back as well as in this movie. But that's the beautiful thing about it. It makes you feel and connect with it, makes you feel that this is a real story, and then just gives you a little more boost. And then there's this underlying thing with Zareen and Romeo where they are doing letters to each other, emails, and there's this tension, and then so many other things like them making fun of Zayn for like how he acts with his wife, where there's just nothing wrong with how he acts with his wife, and that's how he wants to act with her. Like she generously says Amma should come live with us after Abba passes. Like that's generous. That's cold. It's cold and realistic and harsh, but it's still, you're opening your home, you're offering, you're bringing it up on your own, that they should come live with you. That's not something to be lightly overlooked, you know? But it all comes to a head in this beautiful, beautiful, beautiful single shot. Zara goes to look for something in the shed and finds that the letter that she had left for Sherar was never given to him. And Zareen had lied, and she goes and yanks Zareen by the hair and then starts the most magnetic one shot I can remember. She pulls her out. Then people start fighting around the anniversary, and then they all get in, they're bickering even more, things are getting tense, it's dialing up, and then Zayn goes off with his wife, and that's when she suggests that Amma come with them after Abba passes, and they have this small moment where the electricity goes out, and it's intimate, it's small, and then just those two, and they go back to the big amount of characters, and it keeps escalating, and escalating, and escalating. It never feels like there's a single moment that's wasted, or it's lazy, or it's filler and it should have cut out. If it wasn't a single shot, then they would have been able to cut it out. No, every single moment needed to be there. That's why it feels like a play a lot of the time for me. And this is just like the perfect metamorphosis of all the things in this movie: the story, the cinematography, the character, how they all relate to each other, how they talk, how the cadences match up, how the camera is just dialing into exactly the moment they need. And then Zara finds out that 10 years ago, that boy, which she's been trying to meet and be like, I'm so sorry for running, I'm so glad that you're better, is dead. Not only that, she finds out that her family covered for her, tried to offer them money. Not only that, Romeo pled guilty for her. And he's in love with Zareen, not Zara. She was already gone. Not only that, Romeo went away for 4 years to jail. They had no right to do that, to make those choices for her. But as Zayn points out, and then later, Zareen gave up her love. Interrupted that by letting Romeo go to jail. As Romeo lost out on that too. And it just devolves, and she's getting hit with wave after wave of this, and she grabs onto Abba in her sleep and screams to her, why? And it's just like, you've been living your life feeling not heartbroken, maybe heartbroken, but slighted by your love, Sherar, not reaching out. And you've moved on. You've had a husband for 5 years, but that devolved too. And now your parents are passing, and you don't know where you are in life. And then you get hit with this knowledge that for the last 10 years, someone has been dead. A family has been torn apart by you. And you didn't even know. Because you weren't trusted to know. It's just like, holy shit, man. I don't know how I would have forgiven them. Before I close out, I do have to give a couple shout outs to a few details that I love. The music was pitch perfect. It added so much to every scene that it was in, that it was used in. The flashbacks, where instead of this aspect ratio, it went down to this aspect ratio. It was just black here, black bars. That was great. Everyone in this dysfunctional family finds a dysfunctional way to cope and reconnect just a little. Like, it makes so much sense that the first person Zara talks to is Romeo. And Romeo and Zareen are connecting. And I don't think the door was open, but I think Zara was going to see Sherar. And it just felt real and great and heartbreaking and lovely and heartwarming all at the same time. And if you haven't seen this film, you need to. It's great. Highly, highly, highly recommended. This is one of the best films I've seen. And this is one that's gonna stay in here. Not because they did a great job or I had a really good time in the movie, which I did, and they did. Because it hit here. 10 out of 10. I don't do ratings, but 10 out of 10. 2 thumbs up. Let's go. Thank you, SuperViewers. If you saw the film, please tell me what you thought. There's been like a pop-up somewhere, probably right there, to hit me up on WhatsApp. Go for it. Let's talk about it. Let's get more movies going. This channel might start changing a little bit more. Like, I was talking to a friend, Richard, about doing some reviews with him and evolving the reviews. But, man, it's been... Wow, I never would have seen this movie. It wasn't for this channel and you SuperViewers, so thank you. Thank you. Thank you for being you. And remember, don't stop. Do I need to do this?
You're a hero, Brian. Don't interrupt me ever. Oh yeah, I was making a video to somebody on Twitter, to Brian.
It's still recording.
Stop. Don't.